Hollywood is coming home with Takeoff Media, and welcome to the second part of our interview with Sebastian Gaetor, Technical Manager from Storm Audio. After talking about Dirac ART related topics in the first part, we are now focusing on general hardware related stuff. And my first question is, where is the sound being produced inside the processor? Which part is responsible for resolution, timing, bass precision, stuff like that? I took the chance to ask Sebastian for the reason.
Actually, I'm spending some time on testing the Marantz AV10 processor, which is also quite popular among our customers, as it allows you to also have 16 channels. And I'm pretty surprised that Marantz put so much effort in their converters, and Storm Audio products still sound, in my opinion, more dynamically and more, they have clearer sound quality, in my opinion, more resolution. From your perspective, which part of the processor, considering that a Storm Audio processor nearly, well, there's no big effort that can be seen in the device. You don't have that much hardware put in your device like Marantz, for example. What's the point?
I would not say we don't have much hardware compared to Marantz. No, what I mean is,
well, if you open an AV10, it's
I mean, I know AV10. Yeah,
you have to think, okay, it must sound 10 times better because you get 10 times more PCB boards, and they put a lot of efforts in all of their stuff, and still a Storm Audio processor sounds more refined, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I cannot judge on let's say the sound experience or musicality of the system compared to Marantz. I haven't had the opportunity, apart from few shows, I haven't had the opportunity to take the unit and play in my room. So I cannot.
Well, I just took the Marantz as an example.
No, I understand. But what I wanted to say is, you know, it's always, as in anything, a lot of aspects are kind of marketing driven. It is always a tendency to look for ways to promote, I have the latest ESS Sabre, whatever, Hyperstream DAC, can do 140 dB dynamic range, etc., etc. That's one aspect, but it's more about how you implement those things that makes the difference. And
so you mean software?
It's also, I mean, it's not only software, it's also in the hardware itself. It's not because you take the best DAC that it will work in your system. A converter will work because it has nice clocking at the, I mean, the signal is clean. You made such a way you control your jitter. And I mean, sometimes it's better to have a DAC that is just like under 10 dB, but it is very well implemented, versus having a DAC that theoretically gives you 140 dB, but the system cannot bring that into the performance. So I mean, our point at Storm Audio is, and that's one of our DNA pillar, meaning we're looking for the optimal performance. We're not looking just for the esoteric hi-fi discussion about let's use ESS, whatever. I mean, we are of course considering going with better DACs, but to us, that's the system approach that is really critical.
Okay.
When you look at an home cinema setup where you have HDMI, for example, it is well known that the HDMI signals are of very bad quality in terms of clocking and all that. What you get in terms of stability in the clock and the signal is crap. So one of the aspects is you need to think about also how to control that, how to clean this, how to make such a way that the system from A to Z is done appropriately. Okay. So the way for us was that, okay, what is the most important to get a clean playback? It's to first of all make sure that at the clocking side we're clean. So what we've done is we are using some dejittering circuits that are on an FPGA that really make sure that we are cleaning the clocking. That's number one. The number two, we are making the system completely asynchronous from input to output. So that way we can make sure that our local signals processor is really always looking at a perfect clock that is completely away from the jittering issues, and that translates into part of the clarity that you hear. It's objectively, it's not something that you can read always into an SNR measurement or a THD measurement. You will see it, but it translates into a better possibility to do signal processing. And then the second aspect is that our complete processing chain is with a 40 bits resolution, 40, meaning that we always work at full dynamic. So the essence of what you decode, although we do a lot of post-processing with the DirectArt and all of that, we keep the integrity of the dynamic to the end, to the DAC. And that's some of the key aspects. I think on top of that, I think also we did spend effort in the decoders and all that to make sure that, you know, we can get a good grasp of the details and all that. So that's a complete system approach.
Okay.
And
so I summarize, it's some kind of a hidden technology and not the forefront in terms of which DAC you're using or whether you have which kind of transformer you're using inside.
Clearly.
Okay.
I mean, to me, you know, I mean, the thing is, the audio industry, there's a lot of possibility to do some magic things, I mean, keep people dreaming about fantasy. I mean, I've nothing against that, but when you work into doing engineering, to me, the numbers have to speak, and the theory beyond the numbers are really what is relevant. I was talking in jitter, I was talking about depth, dynamic, and all that. Those are key tangible things that we are always looking at, and yeah, that's what drives us. And yes, indeed, you will find in some processes that are much cheaper than ours, DACs that are with brains that are, yeah, wow, crazy esoteric, but okay, fine, but we don't care, because to us the performance is just more than that. Yeah, it's just
in the first place, I'm totally amazed that your products allow using DREG or other treatments like manual equalization without a decline in sound quality. But as ART uses up to 500 filters, as far as I know,
yep,
it adds some more delay. Do you consider using a PC-based platform for future products to further enhance your processing power, or where do you think is the limitation on reducing the delay? As in modern projectors, the sound is too slow. In my opinion,
we know that. We know that in some systems this is problematic.
But this is not only related to Storm Audio, of course.
No, I know. I mean, this is the thing. The thing is, again, this is a structural thing here. In order to, I mean, number one, whether this is PC platform or DSP based platform, so real embedded hardware versus a complete monolithic software running on the x86 processors, from the decoder standpoint, it's not going to change a lot, because this is a matter of how the codec is implemented. And if you take a Dolby Atmos codec, or if you take the others guys like MPEG-H and all that, they are by default, in the way they are designed, they require to have latency. They cannot work with that latency. So, I mean, there is no way next year someone will come with processors that does 20 millisecond latency in the whole system. It cannot work. That's number one, because first of all, the decoding aspect cannot be fast enough. The Dolby Atmos requires a certain amount of time. At the moment, this is something that ranges from 50 to almost 100 milliseconds, depending on whether this is the Dolby True HD, whether this is the Dolby Digital Plus.
Well, I think.
Right now,
I think that's
but I will conclude.
Nowadays,
so that's one aspect.
Yeah.
This aspect is the decoder side. It requires some latency. The second aspect is the calibration, indeed. As long as you do filters like a bikewads, I mean the traditional PEQ, that costs nothing. It's less than a sample to do the EQ, so you don't have any impact in the latency. As soon as you start going into intelligent calibration systems, where you actually not only play, I mean, you use filters like FIR. Those filters, they by definition, they need, or they create latency, because you need time to do the computation. You can make some improvements in the how fast it can be, of course, by using more powerful CPUs or DSPs. But again, you will never remove part of the latency. And if you look at today's Dirac performance, what we could check is that in average, this is close to like 20 milliseconds.
Yeah.
So overall, processors, whichever brands will never be able to go below, I think, 50, 60 milliseconds. And in average, they would be closer to 100 milliseconds. So here, the main point comes from the fact that the gaming industry has a requirement to go into a real-time thing, and that's of course something we understand. But then there will need to be some compromise to be implemented.
Sure.
Like, forget about doing gaming with a complete advanced calibration.
Yeah.
I mean, using Dirac, for example, if you want to do, and this is what we teach our installers to do. We have right now a low latency mode in our processor that cannot operate with Dirac, because, well, if you want to be doing gaming and not be disturbed by the audio latency, it has to be within 13 milliseconds.
Yeah.
So what we say is the following, right? For your home cinema use case, you do the perfect calibration using Dirac Live Art. For your gaming use case, you can use all the other tools, your PEQs, your base management that is in the system. You can use that because it only costs 1 or 2 milliseconds total to make the job. So that's the way to do it, and there is no other way. That's what we can say.
In my opinion, that's a big hassle we all have to face, because it's not only an audio related problem, that when you feed a projector with different resolutions, you have different timings of the video, and depending on which audio resolution and an audio decoder you use, you have different audio delays. And until now, there is no processor around that is able to handle all those different latencies to ensure a perfect synchronization between audio and video. And
That's correct.
Do you think that there
it's correct, but I think we always need to be also careful to not just look at the numbers. We also need to look at human perception. The sensitivity for us to distinguish a delay between audio and video is I don't remember the exact number, but it's definitely 20 to 30 milliseconds at least. If you go beyond that, you will start to see it, but that means you still have a quite a nice headroom to do things in that timing. Where problems comes is that, number one, with the gaming, okay, this one is critical, and of course on the projector side, now that projectors they do not have the intelligence that we were requiring back then, when you had to do the upscaling, the deinterlacing and all that. This was costing a lot of time, so projectors were slow, so that was fine because we could delay our processor. Now, I mean, we've been to demos where we use like Barco projectors. Those guys, they can do everything within 10 milliseconds.
Yeah.
Come on. Thank you, guys. That's beautiful. It's perfect for the gamers, but what do you do with the processor? I mean, there is no way we can do a full Dolby Atmos rendering with perfect calibration within 10 milliseconds. It will never happen.
But you consider...
So the only answer to that is to add video processors to the chain and optimize that in the best way. Problem is, it's not going to work for gaming. So gaming will always be some kind of compromise where you will have to bypass a lot of the let's say audio processing that you're looking for, and also certainly bypass the video processor.
Well, what's the reason for not including some time of video delay inside your processor?
Video delay at 4K resolution, that costs you not only a lot of memory, but of course, I mean, that's, well, clearly it costs you a huge processor and video and memory, a lot of RAMs.
So it's,
I mean,
it's technically
look
not
at the
possible.
number of pixels that you have to move.
Okay, so it's technically not possible. It's
number one. It's not. I mean, this is possible. Number one, this is possible. But Storm Audio, again, in the residential space, a lot of the installers they like being able to work with the experts. Okay, so when it goes to video, they will not go as Storm Audio being someone who can do something there. They will trust people like Lumagen, like MadVR to do the work. And if we wanted to go into, let's say, doing video delay or whatever, we would certainly end up with more, not trouble, but more requests than anything. So it's not something we want to go into. And I'm afraid that also the costs it would add to the system would not be seen as something that all customers would be willing to spend money on. It's something to be wisely considered in the future. I think let's see how things move. But yeah, it's not right now in our roadmap to say that, to do this path.
You have been around for quite a while in the industry, and you have seen a lot of technical trends and innovations like 3D sound, 8K, 4K, HD sound. What is your perception of ART regarding its meaning for the industry? Do you consider it to be a game changer or just another upgrade like bass management, for example?
Well, a very honest answer, it is a game changer. I mean, there is no doubt. And to me, for most of the installations you have in people's rooms these days, it is definitely more important than anything like going higher resolution, like DSD, whatever. I mean, all those things have absolutely no benefit if your system is not perfectly timely aligned. And what ART is doing by using this, let's say, using all the speakers to make sure that the impulse response of one speaker is perfect, is absolutely what makes your sound becoming accurate all of a sudden. And I think this is just the starting points of, I mean, I've been listening to all my albums and I spend hours listening, and I'm mostly listening into stereo, by the way, in my room, and I have an 11.2.8 system, and I spent a lot of my time just listening to my stereo content and experience that. I am rediscovering most of my albums. Of course, especially in the low frequency, but you have some interesting effects of hearts in the overall reproduction. The first aspect is that it really gives back the articulation of the low frequencies. I was amazed to rediscover sounds, I mean, bass, impact, articulation, definition, change of different pitch in the bass that I was not able to hear, even with bass control. And because my room is not perfect in terms of bass behavior, I do not have bass traps apart from very basic in the corner. So my bass was not optimal. With Heart, wow, it cleaned everything. You get a very tight reproduction, very articulated. And by doing that, you would not believe it, but it actually opens up the complete medium range. It gives more hair also to the rest of the reproduction. And the sound staging, in my experimentation, has become deeper.
Yeah.
The voice is like, you can turn around the guy. It's holistic. How can we say that? It's like holographic. It's amazing what it brings. And I was not expecting that. I mean, actually, even when we talk with the Dirac engineers, and those are kind of benefit side effects to what we were looking for. The first target with active room treatment is to help the passive, I mean, the acoustic treatment to work better, to make sure that the bass reproduction is as it should, without too much lingering, without let's say bad resolution, etc. So this has been really cleaned up by the arts, and that really helps to get better reproduction. So to me, you know, I'm traditionally I'm more coming from the hi-fi industry than the multi-channel industry.
Do you plan to enhance the number of a total of 6 theaters even further you can switch and choose from?
6 layouts, you mean?
But what?
The 6 layouts, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, we are here in our Cinelator, and I'd like to use 20 different setups. I can select at a fingerprint, so the customer can choose between a variety of different configurations. And I found out that it's limited to 6 theaters. And is it just a number you can increase in the next firmware, or do you run out of memory?
It's not a matter of memory. It's a matter of you know, the whole system is about a database and things like that. And we had to find a balance between the complexity of making this and versus the need. What I can say is that going above 6 layouts is going to satisfy people like you who are doing experiments. So it's more for testing facilities rather than end consumer use cases.
Yeah, that's good.
So to convince my team to do something to make Lars Meta happy is to be created. I do, of course, I do understand. But 6 was a starting point. Whether we need more, I would say, you know, we do have in our ticketing systems, we have somewhere something also called feature request. And this is where we do listen to our customers' feedback. Okay. If someone comes to me and say, 6 is not enough, and if I have a second one, maybe a third one, and if I start to have like 5 guys telling me, you missed that, then I will start to discuss.
Right now, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I the only one who is just suggesting that you can add specific channels to an existing configuration? For example, I recently went to a customer who bought a second subwoofer, and I had to delete his whole configuration.
Okay, but this is a different topic.
Yeah.
This is a different topic.
I know.
That topic is driven by the fact that as soon as you had channels, and I mean, and it was actually something that we could have conceived before, I would say, before base control. Maybe with base control we could have still thought about that. But now with art, where actually there is a complete dependency between all
I totally
channels.
understand. That's not what I was talking about.
Forget about that. Let me conclude. Let me finish. That's the first aspect. The second aspect is that if you had channels, we could have done that. But the problem is that Dirac does not allow that. So in any case, you are fucked up, meaning you still have to go back to the tool and do your whole measurements again. So what is the difference then by just reconfiguring your room, redo the measurements in Dirac and glow the profile? So to us, this was the main reason why we said no, because this request is indeed an hold request, and we understand it. We apologize for this, but because of the fact that Dirac is what actually locks this, why doing this if in the end you cannot make use of it?
Well, I was just thinking about not spending the time to do all the active crossover and equalization stuff prior to Dirac.
No, but this can be different. And I think here, I would say if you could describe your exact use case, you know, as I mentioned in a feature request, that's a different story. I mean, being able to use an existing setup to extend it because of the adjustments is something we can think of. But now, you know, by the way, at least for the PEQ, you can copy EQs from any rooms to any room, and that is already possible today. But for the crossover, I mean, for the multi-way, indeed, it's not the case.
Yeah.
So that's something. Okay, something to be thought of, but I don't have a solution right now.
All right, so much for now. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope it was quite interesting for you to join the discussion between Sebastian and me regarding all those technical topics. In the third and final part, we will focus on stereo and software related questions. And I'm looking forward to welcome you there again. And if you like the content, please consider subscribing. And I also like you to comment down below. And I wish you a good time here at YouTube and see you soon. Bye.